Hello, hello, hello. This is Trevor Emden coming at you from the UK. The sun is trying to shine as I speak. It's not doing very well. Welcome, some people already here. We'll be up and running in just a few minutes. It's not quite time to start yet, but welcome to those of you who are here. I hope I'm not keeping anybody from their bed or their lunch. I know it's different times of day where you are in the world. If you can hear me, you should be able to see a chat box, which will be sort of on the right-hand side of your screen. If you can hear me, and also you can see a slide that says the perfect online business model in the middle of your screen, could you please put a yes or a hello or blow me a kiss or something in the chat box? Nothing rude, please. Just so I know that all the technology is working at your end as well as mine. It all looks perfectly okay from here, but you can never be too careful. So can you hear me? Can you see a slide that says the perfect online business model? Please type in the chat box. Now I think there might be, because I've done this before, there might be a slight delay on me seeing what you put in the chat box. But I have enabled it. All appears to be. Yay! Hello, Harris. Welcome, sir. Nice to have you here. And I think we also have Thelma. Can you hear me, Thelma? I know where Harris lives, roughly, but where do you, if you can hear me, Thelma, let me know. Tell me where you are in the world and what time of day or night it is. Thelma's being a bit shy, I think. Okay, well, just while we're waiting to start, I'll just tell you a little bit of housekeeping about how the technology works from both ends, so that you know what my experience is. Now, the screen you're seeing looks slightly different from mine, but I need to present you my slides as obviously as I go through. And to do that, because I've already got one screen, the easiest way for me to do it is to minimize the window that I'm looking at, the video, the presentation that you're seeing, which means I can't see the chat box all the time. That doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. So we will do Q&A, question and answers, later on in the presentation. But what I like to say, and I think hopefully works best for everybody, is if a question comes up for you while I'm actually presenting, then please type it in the chat box as we go along. I may not answer you straight away because, as I've just said, I can't see the chat box all the time. And anyway, there's a good chance that I'm going to answer it later. But of course, if it's not something I've covered, then of course I will come back to you. But I would type it in as you go along, or as we go along, because I know from my experience that when I attend talks or presentations or workshops of any kind, if the presenter says, can you just keep that question to the end, madam, that it's kind of distracting because you're trying to remember your question and listen at the same time. So I always think, don't do that. Just write the question down. You've got a chat box there, so use it. And then, as I say, by the time I get to it, it may have already been answered. If it's not, at least you know you've asked it and your mind's clear to carry on. The other thing I would say to you is I'm going to cover a lot of ground at quite some speed because I want to be respectful of your time. So you might want to take notes. Also, if you know how to do it, if you want to take screenshots of some of the slides as we go along, I don't mind at all. Just if you're going to use them in your own presentations later on, at least change them a bit. But if you just want them for your own reference, then that's a handy way to take notes, and is it fairly easy to do these days if you know how to do that. You'll hear me sipping coffee or water as we go along, because I'm going to do a lot of talking and I need to keep my whistle wet, as it were. Right, well, let's see how we're doing. So we have a few people here. More may show up as we go along. I know at least one person has told me that she'll be watching the replay because she's in Australia and it's currently 3 a.m. there, apparently. Can't think why she didn't want to get out of bed to watch this. Bless her. No, she's a lovely lady and a very good friend. So there will be a replay of this for people who can't make it, but hopefully there'll be more people turning up today as we go along. So I'm taking it on trust, Thelma, that you can hear me. I know Harris can, so I'm going to crack on and get started, which means I'm now going to minimize, for me, nothing will change at your end, hopefully. I'm going to minimize the screen that shows me the chat box so I can see the slides and nothing else. So, as I say, you have on your screen a slide that says the perfect online business model. Let's get rid of that. So what is the perfect online business model? Well, I'm going to say that it's one where, and see if you agree with me, it's one where you could attract qualified leads on demand, anytime you want. It's one where even cold leads will buy from you pretty much from the first time they ever hear of you. Where you can sell low or high ticket products or services straight out of the box. It costs little or nothing to actually deliver from your point of view. And in addition to all those things, it can be automated. It requires virtually no technical skills. It can be run from anywhere in the world, as long as you have Wi-Fi. I'm in the middle of the jungle or the Sahara Desert or something, might be a bit of a challenge, I suppose. But otherwise, as long as there's Wi-Fi around, you could do it, and has a very high conversion rate. In other words, a high percentage of the people, of those leads that you generate, purchase from you first time around. Now, I am going to have a quick look. I'm going to ask you, please put a yes in the chat box if you agree with me that that looks like a perfect business. Oh, good, Thelma, hello. If that looks like a perfect business model, please put a yes in the chat box if that looks to you like a perfect business model to have online. One where you can generate leads on demand, sell pretty much anything to them, costs you almost nothing to do, and they buy from you first time out with a high conversion rate. Does that look like, thank you, yes, 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 I'm getting yeses. Fantastic, brilliant. So what can this model be? Well, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is webinars. Now, don't freak out. I'm going to tell you all about it. Let me just first of all do the decent thing and introduce myself, because some of you know me better than others, but let me just give you a little bit of background why I'm here, why you're listening to me, and why I'm talking about this. Well, that's me. I'm Trevor Emden. I've been successful full-time online since January 2014 after I quit my day job in mental health care after far too many years, and finally decided not to renew the short-term contract that I had, which expired on December 31st, 2013. I didn't just make that decision on New Year's Eve, by the way. I was sober when I did it. I was sober anyway, but I don't want you to think that it was a completely spontaneous decision. Had been considering it for some time, and then it came to a head, and I talked it over with my lovely wife and decided that the best time to do it was now, or was then. So since then, I've been full-time mixing and matching kind of coaching, small business education, helping people set up online and offline. I do some personal development stuff. I create a lot of products. I write books, and I write self-help products as well. So I have a sort of crossover between the personal development side and the commercial side. Really, the marketing side came about because I had to teach it to myself. Not in 2013, 2014. I already knew quite a lot of that, although I can tell you I've learned a heck of a lot more since I've been full-time, my goodness. But very exciting. And I had my first $1,000 payday from a webinar within a few weeks of starting online. So that's me. This is me delivering. I'm sometimes, well, quite often actually do talking and coaching to, this is me talking to a group of small business entrepreneurs locally near where I live. That's part of a video. Here you can see Wizard of Wisdom. That's my website. Wizardofwisdom.com is one of my websites, and the name under which I do all the personal development stuff. And I created a marketing product called Traffic on a Plate, which some of you may know about. And there it is in the top 10 on Warrior Plus. So, and I've done a few launches like that, and also co-launches with some fairly well-known marketers in the internet marketing field as well. And just to show you, I took a photo at the time, screenshot of my $1,000 payday. There it was, February 2014. So it was just into my second month of being freelance and without a job. And I was so excited on that day because nobody had ever paid me in one go that much money before. And you can see there's an $800 payment. So and a couple of almost $200 payments there as well the day before. So that was, to me, that was just woohoo, because it just proved it could be done. And at the time, I was very, very excited, and also was then and remain very grateful to the man that coached me at the time and showed me how to get it all off the ground and make it work. And since then, it's been onward and upward. There've been many more $1,000 paydays since then. I know how to do that pretty much on demand. And I've coached other people to do that as well. So that's why me, and why now. So now I hope that I haven't filled you with terror talking about webinars, because I do know, and I've done, coached a lot of people on this, and I do know the kind of reactions that I get when I talk about webinars. And a bit like this gentleman here is like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't know what to say. I don't know how to set one up technically. I know nothing. What would I sell? What would I say? Who would listen to me? I've never done anything like that before. Aren't they really complicated and difficult? So if that kind of thing, if that kind of turmoil is going on inside you, panic not. It's all okay. It's all under control. I'm going to walk you through all of it. Oops, didn't expect that to happen. Oh, I've lost my place. Where's my man gone? My little man. There we are. So, I hope you can. Just make sure you can still see that on my screen. That's not what you should be seeing. Oh, there we are. Oh, you're not seeing the page. Are you not seeing the... Oh, goodness. Right, what's happening here? Let's have a look. Oh, goodness. Right, let me check again. That's my slides. Why are you not seeing the slides? Oh, I hate it when the gremlins kick in. Right. Okay, all working now. Great. Thanks, Harris. Thanks for the alert there. It's a good job I check in. All right. So, okay, so you can all see the little scaredy man now. Right. Let me go back to... Oh, that's not right. Where's my... There he is. Okay. Right. So, hopefully you're not too terrified. So you will all have the answers by the end. Fear not. Phew. So let's talk about this calmly and in a measured way. Why webinars? Well, first of all, the conversion rate from webinars, that is to say, the number of people who will attend a webinar and end up buying from them, is typically 20 to 40%, according to readytalk.com. Now, readytalk.com is a website, is a provider of webinar platform. So that it's, you know, in their interest to do that kind of research. 20 to 40%. That means if 100 people attend your webinar, 20 to 40 of them are likely to buy from the webinar. Now, you send 100 people to any regular standard sales page about practically anything, and I defy you to get 20 to 40% conversion rate from a sales page. You would never get that. You'd be lucky to get 2 or 3%. Secondly, they're free. Webinars are free. I mean, there are platforms that cost money, but you can do a webinar for free. Google Hangouts are completely free. So you don't actually need to spend money. Obviously, it helps if you do have a little more technology around it, but we now are in a place in our technological development where everyone and anyone can do one of these things completely free. All you need is your laptop or computer and a Wi-Fi connection. You could do one on Skype for that matter. You can't get so many people on Skype. I think there's a limit to 20 people, but you could nevertheless deliver a training on Skype. They immediately position you as an authority. Now, when someone's talking to you, it's like they're in the room with you. Then they know you. If you're explaining something to them or telling them about something that you're passionate about, you're interested in, you know about, then they know immediately that you're not just, you haven't just hired some fancy smart copywriter to make you sound all glossy and hypey. It really is you. And so it's very immediate and very comforting, very reassuring from the listeners or the viewer's point of view. So for the same reason, they immediately build trust and rapport. This is why you can convert people from from cold. People that didn't know you the day before attend your webinar, you give them something of value and of interest, and they know, like, and trust you by the end of the hour, right? And here's the kicker. With one decent presentation, you can build an entire business empire if you want to. Just one presentation. Now, that's really, really important to know, because guess what? When you do one presentation, do it right, do it the right way, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. You get the recording, and so you can, and of course you have, if you don't want to use the recording, just do it again. You've got the slides. So once you've set it all up and let it run, you can let it go pretty much on autopilot, and or you can mix and match that with doing it again, actually physically doing it again. Either way, either or both. One presentation. So you don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. One presentation will bring the leads to the presentation does the selling for you, and you can do it over and over again. Do you think that's worth a little learning curve and maybe facing a little terror? Now, just again, put a yes in the chat box if you think that's worth a little learning curve and maybe facing your inner demons if need be. Just put a yes in the chat box if you agree that that is worth a little learning curve. Yes, absolutely. Great. So let's take you on this little journey. There are 3 secrets to rapid success using this model. So first of all, you have to attract the perfect clients. Secondly, you have to have an irresistible offer for those clients. And then you have to shift their perspective. That is to say, you need to remove at least one limiting belief for them. Because, well, I'll come to the because later, because I think when you see that, the scales will be lifted from your eyes. So let's go through those one by one. Attract the perfect clients, have an irresistible offer, and shift their perspective. That is to say, remove at least one limiting belief for them. Okay? So let's talk about attracting the perfect clients. Now, where are your perfect clients? Well, of course, you're going to say to me, that depends on the market. You know, if I'm teaching people, I don't know, how to play golf, that's going to be very different from someone who's teaching people how to play the guitar, or how to run a business, or how to, I don't know, what else can I think of? I don't know, there's a million markets on how to train dogs, right? So if your perfect clients, well, where are they? Well, guess where they are. In 95, 98, 99 probably percent of cases, the chances are they're on Facebook. Now, there is a small modicum of markets where they might not be so much on Facebook, but if they're not there, they'll be on LinkedIn, which you may or may not know about. I'm not going to talk about LinkedIn today, but in case you don't know what that is, it's another social media platform with hundreds of millions of users for people with businesses, small, medium, large, or solo, but people who are entrepreneurs of some kind. So if they're not on Facebook, probably some of them are on both. Many of them are on both. I'm on both. There's millions of people like that. But they will be on one of those platforms. But the chances are they're on Facebook. So why am I talking about Facebook? Isn't that the place where people go to, you know, put photographs of their kittens and that kind of thing? Well, yes, they do that. But Facebook, as of February 2016, which was the most up-to-date statistic I could find, has 1.65 billion users. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is just shy of 1/5 of the world's population. Just let that sink in. The world's population is estimated currently to be 7.4 billion. So if you divide 7.4 by 1.65, it's 4.48 something. But 1/5 of the world's population is on Facebook. What's more, I think it's something like 85% of internet users are reckoned to be on Facebook. Okay? So that means practically everybody. It's as good as everybody as you're going to get, because, you know, when you think about the other 4/5 of the world's population, well, many of those poor folks don't even have electricity, running water, or let alone Wi-Fi and computers. So from a business point of view, we might be able to help them as business people, but we're not going to actually reach them directly with our laptops anyway. I mean, it's just a phenomenon like there's never, ever been in human history. So they will be on Facebook, and Facebook has not only millions of groups of people, because of course people, you know, birds of a feather, but people tell Facebook what their hobbies and interests are. Facebook knows a massive amount of information. Now, I know that a lot of people get quite worried about that and think, you know, I don't like it that they know all this information about me. Well, that's another debate. And certainly, you know, the world has changed dramatically. You know, when I was a kid, you know, privacy was something that, you know, as soon as you shut your front door, nobody knew anything about your business. And now, you know, we can photograph everything, we can speak into microphones from our spare rooms, and so on, and everybody knows pretty much everything. So privacy has changed phenomenally in the last 10 years, 5 years even. And that's ongoing. Now, I'm not here to debate the pros and the cons of the politics of that. It just is. So from a business point of view, since we're not going to be able to change it ourselves, even if we wanted to, we might as well take advantage of it. And the fact is that Facebook lets you target those people by any set of interest demographics. You can even target people by how much they earn, how much their house is worth, what kind of car they drive. whatever, the age they are, the gender they are, whether they're married or single, in a relationship or not, whether they've got children or not, and also what magazines they read, who their heroes are, and so on. It's incredible. Now, what that means is that we can now advertise to people who are our perfect market like you've never been able to before. You can decide those are the exact, I want to target women over the age of 40 who read that magazine on Wednesdays, kind of thing. You can do that. If you know that that's your perfect customer for your market, you could do that on Facebook. That's never, ever been possible before. And it means, get this, imagine that you want to advertise to people who are interested in, I don't know, who like Coca-Cola. Okay. Now, can you imagine any time in history where the ordinary man or woman would be able to advertise to Coca-Cola drinkers? It would have cost a fortune. Where would you put it? On the TV? In magazines or newspapers? Can you imagine? It would have cost a fortune. But now you can do it on Facebook. You can just find, because Coca-Cola has millions and millions of people who like its pages on Facebook, advertise to them, and it will cost you pennies. Anyone can do anything now. You can reach any sector of any market. Now, of course, you don't have to use Facebook or Facebook advertising. There are usual ways, the more common ways that people drive traffic to anything, including to webinars. You can email your list if you have one, and I recommend that you do that. I've certainly done that on this occasion. But it's useless if you don't have a list, if you're just starting out. You can write blog posts and hope that traffic reads it and responds to it. And you can obviously do things to drive traffic to that, free or paid, but it's still a bit hit and miss. You can do the same thing with YouTube videos and podcasts if you know how to make a podcast. Podcasting is something I've never done yet, but I know people do. You can, of course, post in social media groups, which would include Facebook. And again, you can get a lot of people to see those posts, but your ability to target so well is restricted by the rules of the group and who's in the group and the numbers in the group, and it's still a bit hit and miss. Or you could get partners, JVs as they call, joint venture partners, to promote for you. Well, all of those ways work and they're all perfectly valid, and there's no reason why you can't do some or all of them as well. However, there are problems with those. They're a bit hit and miss. All of them are a bit hit and miss. Most of them rely on you having some kind of reputation already. You can't just go into a Facebook group cold that you've never belonged to before and post adverts in there for your stuff or your webinars. The administrators and the rest of the members will throw you out unless they don't care, in which case they're not going to click on your post anyway. If you work with joint venture partners, well, they're going to want a cut of whatever it is that you're selling. They're not going to do that for nothing, or you have to pay them up front. So if you're going to pay them, well, you have to weigh that against the cost of paying a few pounds or dollars for some advertising. So what's the return on your investment going to be? Now, personally, I like both. As I say, I like to do a bit of each because, well, not all of the above. As I say, I don't do podcasts, but emailing my list and blog posts and that kind of thing, I do that fairly regularly, and it works. But advertising guarantees that you're going to get some leads. So that also updates your mailing list as well. Incidentally, you get fresh blood in there, as it were, each time you do that. People that hadn't heard of you before. So you build up your reputation and your database as well. The other thing about advertising is it's as guaranteed as it gets. If you get the targeting right, you are going to get people, the right people, coming to your presentation. And then people say, oh, but isn't advertising expensive? Well, it's only expensive if you throw the money at the wrong market or don't do it right. the wrong market or put the wrong advert up. You know, there is a bit of an art as well as a science to advertising. Of course there is. And some, you know, of course, no advert's 100% successful. But because of Facebook's incredible targeting, the chances of you getting it wrong once you know what you're doing are slim. And you can start with a shoestring budget. I mean, you know, there are people advertising on $5 a day. Well, you know, even if you spent $100, which would be 20 days worth of advertising, which is quite a long time. I wouldn't advertise for that long. Probably a week's enough in most cases. Now, obviously, if you spend a bit more money, you're going to get, Facebook will show your advert more and so on. So there's a balance to be struck here. But as long as you get your money back, and remember the conversion rate from a webinar is typically 20 to 40%. So even if you get 10 people, the chances are 1 or 2 of them, possibly 3 or 4 of them, are going to buy. Again, as long as you know what you're doing. So what that means is if you advertise, you could stop all the other marketing strategies if you wanted to. And it also means, because we now have that Facebook targeting, that you never have to worry about how to pay the bills again. Excuse me. Never, because you can always run an ad to the right target market and put your webinar on. And remember, you only need the one presentation. So once you've done it once, you don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. So that's where you get your perfect clients from. So let's look at the next thing. Step 2, the irresistible offer. What makes an offer irresistible? Because inside of your webinar, you want to put an offer that's so irresistible that people can't resist. Let me just check the chat box and make sure everybody's okay before I dive into this second part. That's cool. Everyone looks all right. I hope you're okay. Thank you for still being there. Okay, so the irresistible offer. So let's talk about that. Now, when people want change, it doesn't matter what they want. It doesn't matter whether they say, I want an online business, or I want to be able to improve my golf swing, or I want to know how to bake, you know, beautiful chocolate cakes. It doesn't matter what they want. What they really are saying at some level, and of course there are different levels of this, is that in some way they're in pain. Now, of course, you know, somebody wants to bake chocolate cakes probably isn't lying awake at night worrying about it. Not unless it's for, you know, the royal family or something. But and equally, somebody who's trying to improve their golf swing probably isn't either. So there are levels of that, and that's important too when you're choosing a market. Can be. And because the more pain people are in, the more urgency there is for them to do something about it. But they're in some kind of discomfort, some kind of distress, and they therefore are looking for a way to feel better. They've come onto the internet to find some resource, something that's going to get them out of that pain. And that if they find a guide who knows the way, it gives them certainty. That's why I like this picture. These guys are coming out of the mist, and this guy in the yellow jacket, he seems to know the way. His body language is it's that way, guys. He's very certain. And you can be like that guy in any field you like. So to make the offer irresistible, your viewers, if you like, because at this stage they're just viewers, they're not yet customers, they have to trust you. They have to be clear about what you're selling and how much it will cost them, obviously. And then they have to believe that they will get a clear, measurable result, that's a return on their investment, that they badly want. And puts the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake is that they should feel they'd be crazy to pass it up. Now, again, that's obviously quite an in-depth topic in its own right, but you can see if you have those 4 elements, and they're not that difficult to do, an irresistible offer isn't the same as a special offer. You know, I'll take £10 off or $10 off if you'll do that. That's not That's not an irresistible offer. That's, well, I'd consider it a bit more if you give me a bit of discount. But that's not what I'm talking about. Is the kind of offer where people kind of go, yeah, gimme, gimme, gimme. I want that now. So that's what makes it irresistible. Webinars make all of that possible. When you think about that right away, let's just go back to that slide. You build in the trust because you're talking to them. You're there with them live. Well, you can be anywhere in the world now and talk to people in their homes, in their living rooms. It's like having your own TV channel. You know, when we were kids, how feasible was that? It's just the world has changed beyond belief. So they're going to trust you because you're talking to them. You can make a clear offer about what you're selling and how much it was going to cost them. You can show them what the measurable result is they're going to get, and you can fix it so that you make it so they'd be crazy to pass it up. You can do all of that in a 1-hour webinar. So how do you build that webinar? Well, here are the elements of the webinar. This is one of those slides. If you know how to do it, you might want to take a screenshot of this, but I'll walk you through it anyway. Typically, a webinar, you want to allow 60 to 90 minutes. Now, I do know people that have done 2.5-hour webinars, and that's fine if you want to do that, and your customers will, your viewers will stay with you that long. I think, however, I wouldn't say don't do that. I would say that the presentation itself needs to be around 60 to 70 minutes, or maybe 70 to 80 minutes of content, and then 10 to 20 minutes question and answer. Now, if the question and answer goes on longer because the viewers are so engaged, that's fine. But your content, I think you should aim to deliver that in about an hour to an hour and a quarter. Because people are busy and you need to be respectful of their time and also yours. It's a long time to talk, 2 hours non-stop. Your throat will get dry, believe me. That's why I arm myself with drinks in advance. Then the sequence goes something like this. Engage first. Tell them what the topic is. Tell them what the promises are. Don't start with, hello, this is John, and I'm coming at you from my spare bedroom or my whatever. You're giving a presentation. If you watch any modern TV thriller series, for example, and you will see now that something will happen in the first 10, 20, 30 seconds, certainly inside of the first minute, that makes you go, what's happening? Oh my gosh. And then the credits will roll, and then you'll see maybe, the characters having a conversation in their home or over a coffee or over a beer or something. But first of all, you've got to come right in with the punch. And although you're not producing or writing a thriller, that format still works. You need to engage people, hook them in right from the word go. Then you can establish credibility. You can give them a reason to stay to the end. Some people offer little gifts or bribes for staying to the end. That works as well. Sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes it's not. And then justify the topic. Why this topic? Why me? Why am I the one talking to you? So that you can then let them know that they're in safe hands. Then you have to deliver the content where you're going to shift their perspective. Remember, we talked about that, and I'm coming to that in a moment. And then you can segue into your coaching offer, because coaching is where the money is made. And then your Q&A. All right. So that's in a nutshell, and I am aware it's in a nutshell, but I want to be respectful of time as well. A basic outline of a webinar sequence. So how do you do some of those things? How do you establish credibility? Now, a lot of people worry about this, but I'm not an expert. I don't know anything. Why will they listen to me? It's a big issue for a lot of people, but it's not. It doesn't have to be an issue at all. First of all, you're going to justify your credibility during the presentation because you're going to show them something and you're going to shift their perspective. And I'll explain that in a moment. You can use your website if you have one, or your LinkedIn profile to establish your credibility. In my case, you saw I've got, still image of myself giving a presentation to a group of entrepreneurs. You saw my screenshot of my successes with online trading. And remember as well, if they've responded to an advert or a post of some kind, you're already credible in their eyes because they signed up. They've given you their time. They've said, okay, I'll listen to you. I'm interested in that. If you've got something to say to me about that, I want to know. They've already put their hand up and said, yeah, okay, I don't know who you are. I've never heard of John Smith before, but I'll listen to you. So you don't need to do a whole lot of work. You don't have to be some megastar. Now look, here's a point to note and to ponder. If it was true that you had to be an expert to get people into your coaching program, then only experts would ever make sales. And that's not the case. That's absolutely not the case. All right? I was recently listening to a coaching expert give a talk, and he has a group on LinkedIn for coaches with over 17,000 members. Now, you aren't going to tell me they're all absolutely top experts in their field, because of course they're not. There'll be all kinds of different levels. And I'll talk about that as well in a minute. I'll give you some more about this because it's a big issue for a lot of people. But then you've got to talk about, well, why this topic? Well, you've got to back that up either with, this is my story, this is, discovering this topic freed me in some way or changed my life in some way, and I'm now gonna reverse engineer that and tell you the steps, or it can be you find credible research that backs your reasons. Just go onto Google. So if you were talking about, if you did a webinar, you could do a whole webinar, for example, on how to advertise on Facebook. And you've seen already in this presentation that I'm doing here today that I've shown you. I found some stats on about Facebook and Facebook advertising and showed you. So I've given you a bit of my backstory and a bit of research as well, so you can do both. But if you don't have a story yet, if you're just starting out, just do the research into your topic. It's easy to find. Again, we're living in an incredible age. Not so many years ago, we'd have been going to libraries and all kinds of reference places, and now you can just, I'll Google it. It's become a verb in our vocabulary, to Google. So what about this shifting the perspective thing? How do you do that? Let me just check the chat box before I dive into the next section here. Okay. Nothing. If you've got any questions, just type them in, folks, as we go along. But thank you for being attentive. Okay, so how do you shift their perspective? Sip of coffee. Well, the first thing to say to you is, because I know people get scared about coaching as well. I can't do it. I don't know anything. First of all, coaching isn't teaching. People want to get from where they are now to somewhere they want to be, right? And it doesn't matter what the topic is, the result is always the same. Now, before I elaborate on that, let me just go back to this coaching isn't teaching. If you think back to when you were in a classroom situation, school, college, whatever, the teachers were expected to, as it were, fill your head with knowledge. And in response, you were supposed to probably fill notebooks, or these days computer disk drives or whatever, with the information, the facts and figures that they were giving you. And then you were supposed to be able to, as it were, regurgitate those during, in exams and prove that you'd retained and remembered and understood it. That's what teachers do. Coaches don't do that. Coaches show you the way. You see, if you were coaching this guy on the mountain, it's not your job to climb up there with him. It's your job to tell him what equipment he needs and what safety precautions he should take, and how to read the weather and whatever it is that, I don't know, I don't climb mountains, but whatever it is that mountaineers need to know if you're a mountaineer coach. You don't need to go up there with him, right? It's not teaching. It's showing the way. So as I say, it doesn't matter what the topic is. The result they want is always the same. They want to feel better about something than they do now. Remember I said people are in pain of some kind, so they want to feel better. See, I've put this in capitals. They want to feel better than they do now. We always want, when we want change, we actually want a change in the way we feel. Now, you may say to me, well, that's not true. I want to be rich. That's not a change in the way I feel. That's a change in my bank balance. Yes, it would be a change in your bank balance, but how would a change in your bank balance make you feel? How do you know that you want something? Because you feel uncomfortable right now about something. I need more money. I want more money in the bank. How do you know that? Because I haven't got enough. Or I haven't got enough to buy the things or the lifestyle that I want, maybe. Whatever it is, wherever you are on that particular path. Okay, so how would it feel if you did have enough or more than enough? Or if you had an abundance of money? It would feel great. I would feel secure. It would feel fantastic. It would feel, I'd feel whatever the feeling is that goes with that. Right? It doesn't matter what it is. I want a nicer car. I want a new car. Why? Any old car that's roadworthy will get you from A to B, won't it? Any old jalopy. Yeah, but I want that nice Mercedes over there. Why? Because it'll make me feel great. And why shouldn't you? Right? That's fine. It's nothing wrong with that at all. But what I want you to understand is when you know that you desire something, that feeling, that simple illustration, right? When you know that feeling, that's a physical feeling, right? You know that means my body or I want food. Why? Well, I don't want food because I'm hungry. Now, when you're really full, you know, when you go out for dinner, maybe, you know, with friends to a restaurant, somebody's birthday bash or something at a restaurant, and you eat like 5 courses. If somebody was to come up to you then, when you've just managed to squeeze down the last morsel of you know, the third pudding or whatever it is, the chocolate at the end, and if somebody come up to you and say, hey, does anybody fancy going for a burger? You go, oh no, because we don't, no way do we have the desire for more food when we're full, right? So when we're satisfied, the same applies with emotions as well. When we're satisfied with the way life is, we don't have the desire. So that's what I mean by pain. The desire to want some change, something different in life. Whatever it is, whether it's your golf swing or to be rich or to make a fortune online or whatever it is, that's an uncomfortable feeling that needs satisfying. I hope that makes sense. The other thing to tell you about coaching is that people know their own answers. Teachers don't have that luxury, mostly. Coaches do, right? So your coaching client says to you, right, what I want to do is I want to achieve such and such. And you can say to them, what do you think the next step should be? Because now they may not know how to implement it, but they will tell you what feels good for them. And then you can advise either way, you know, because you're not going to be completely blind. You're not going to talk about, you know, if you're saying, well, you know, I think I'll teach people how to win horse races. Yeah, I'll teach jockeys how to win horse races. Right. Have you ever been a jockey? Do you know anything about horses? No, nothing at all. That would be ridiculous. You know, of course you're going to pick a subject that you do know something about, but not from complete zero. That would also be ridiculous. So we'll come to that in a minute as well. So you can say to your clients, what do you think the next step should be? Or what do you think has stopped you from trying whatever it is until now? Because then you'll uncover their own limiting beliefs and their own fears and worries, and then you can coach them through that. Maybe you will then have a story of your own, possibly, about that. If you don't, find somebody who did, because I tell you something, there's always somebody who's achieved whatever it is they want and what you want against much bigger odds than them. So again, you can Google that, you can find it out. There's lots of ways to go about this. So, quick coaching model. Help others to do something you find easy and they don't. I'm going to whiz through this. You don't have to be a walking encyclopedia to help people. You know what? I'm on the wrong thing here. I've just realized because there are slides on the other one. I did two versions of this. Oh my goodness. Right, let me just open up that other one there. Let me just open up that other one there. Whoops. That's the one we should be on. I'm so sorry about this. Right, people know all their own answers. That's where I was. Now, the question is, can you see the screen? What are you seeing? I close that one. Right, now I have to change the screen. There we go. Okay, Thelma, thank you, my dear. Okay. Right, we're on the right screen. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, I decided to edit out that quick business coaching model because it takes too long. People know their own answers. Okay, so here are some areas that you might know something about. No, these are off the top of my head. Took me, 3 minutes to write this. Family issues, bringing up teenagers, dating, getting married, getting divorced, keeping love alive, fixing cars, any practical skill, DIY, know how to do plumbing, rewire a gadget, I don't know, play an instrument, sing, play some sport or game, lose weight naturally. Maybe you know about living alone. There's a whole raft of things there. Now, can you see that you can coach on anything? You have knowledge and experience of some, not all, obviously, of these topics in your background, and people want help with all kinds of them: family issues, relationship breakdown, or making up, or bringing up kids, bringing up babies, bringing up teens leaving home, the empty nest syndrome, dating, how to have confidence with dating, how to get back in the dating game in middle age after a divorce, for example, getting married, or the millions of different subtopics around that one, getting divorced, same again, might be the emotional stuff, might be the legal stuff. Don't do that one unless you've got legal knowledge. Might be, how to tell the kids, all kinds of stuff. Keeping love alive. How do you keep relationships going for years? Fixing cars, fairly obvious. There's just so much stuff. Okay. In a nutshell, what you need to do: change their state, remove at least an element of some limiting belief. Right? They're stuck because they believe they can't move forward, can't achieve for some reason. Establish that you are somewhere further down some path than they are, and you can show them the way. And it doesn't mean you have to tell them where every tree root and tripwire and stone is. They will figure that out for themselves. And look, show them a role model. Who's achieved something similar against the odds? This guy, Tony Robbins, right? Let's look at Tony Robbins. He had no college or university education, no track record or credibility when he started out. He was 19. He was abandoned by two fathers. Obviously, only one of them was his biological father. I think by the age of 12, if I remember the story correctly. And he grew up in extreme poverty. You might, if you've ever heard him speak, you probably know the story of when his mother couldn't afford a Thanksgiving turkey and a neighbor came round with one. Changed his life. Now, here's some of the limiting beliefs that I've heard him personally speak about. I've been to his events. And he said that when he started out, he said, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm too young. No one will listen to me." He was 19 years old. Another one was, "I have no formal education." So what did he do? He actually figured out that he was believing those things. That didn't stop him from having his dream or coaching people, telling people how they could change their lives, because Tony realizes that you are not your beliefs. They don't define you unless you let them. So what he did was he turned them around. I'm too young, no one will listen to me. He said, well, you'd better listen to me because I'm the future. If I'm only 19 years old, then things are going to change around here. I know how to show you how to shape your own destiny. And he does. I have no formal education. He turned that around and said, great, that means I'm a free thinker. Nobody's boxed me in, as it were. And another thing that he said that also changed his life, and he said it live on a radio show, I get results. So he was challenged by a therapist on a phone-in program. You have no education. He said, I do. I have a degree. And the guy said, apparently, I thought you said you'd never been to university. He said, I haven't. He said, where'd you get your degree from then? And he said, I gave it to myself. He said, well, what have you got a degree in? He said, I've got a degree in getting results. And the man is a phenomenon. I'm sure you know who he is. So why don't webinars work for some people? And it's because they put the wrong content in there. They spend too much time establishing their credibility because they think I've got to, who's going to believe me? They worry about that. And then they've spent, far too much of the time. Your listeners, viewers mostly don't care. They're too wrapped up in what we call WIFM in the marketing industry. What's in it for me? They don't care who you are as long as you can help them. Secondly, people don't know their market well enough, so they don't take out the limiting beliefs that are in people's way, and they fail, therefore, to shift their perspective. Knock objections down, you won't buy from you. You've got to shift that perspective. That's the key. On the other hand, when you do remove those limiting beliefs, they'll practically beg you to buy. They want to buy your coaching program because they can see and achieve what the goal is. It's like you lift the scales from their eyes. And again, it could be anything: dating, dieting, making money, writing a book, getting a dream job, taking photos, playing the guitar, whatever it is. So just ask yourself where you have got results in your life. What paths have you already trodden? Could be anything. I figured out a way to lose weight naturally. I recovered from, I don't know, a skin condition that the doctors said I'd, have to be with the rest of my life. I overcame divorce or loss. I fixed an old car that that's been running for years. Saw a woman over here on the TV recently who's never paid more than £400 for a car. That's about less than $1,000 for a car in her life, even up till now. Never paid more than £400 for a car. So either she doesn't know anything about cars. It was just an incredible story, really. But if you know how to do that, if you know how to pick a car, probably not going to get a whole coaching program out of that, but certainly there'd be some mileage in that topic. So just brainstorm with yourself. Open up instead of telling yourself, but I don't know anything, just think, well, I do know lots of stuff. What is it that I know? What do people ask me about? What kind of advice do they seek from me? There will be a ton of stuff in there. Are you starting to believe that you can do this yet? Just give me a yes if this is starting to feel like you could do this. If it's making some kind of sense to you. Just give me a yes in the chat box if that's starting to feel like, yeah, I can see that this is possible. Give me a yes. Let me know you're still there. You haven't fallen asleep. Yay. So, what if you could fast track the whole process? That means identifying a market that suits you straight away, figuring out what their limiting beliefs are and objections to achieving their goals and dreams so you can address them straight away, and then you can build a webinar around that, positioning yourself as an authority in front of that market, and pulling in 4 or even 5 figures a month from your coaching program. That's what I'm talking about, fast track. And remember, you only need one good presentation to kickstart an entire business. Now, and you can just use the same presentation time and time again, as I've said already. So just to recap, you need to know how to attract the perfect clients. you need to know how to construct an irresistible offer to those clients. You'll understand why coaching isn't the same as teaching. Hopefully you do understand that now. And one good presentation to kickstart an entire business. So, how perfect does that sound when you look at it? That feels good, doesn't it? Right? So, I have the perfect program. It's called Beyond the Rat Race. Now, what we do inside Beyond the Rat Race is we start with identifying your strengths and passions, and we go a lot deeper than we've been able to go today in this training, to marry them to a perfect market. And then we work with you to design a campaign. Now, people are at different levels with their understanding of the internet and so on. So we work with you to design a campaign and coach you how to promote and position yourself as an authority to whatever that market is. I'm going to walk you step by step through webinar construction and then get you to deliver that one presentation that's going to change your life, that one presentation that you need. That's all you need to kickstart your business empire. And the goal is to give you a 4 or 5 figure or more a month business within 3 months or less. So that is to give you a 4 or 5 figure income or more, maybe 6 or 7 figures, depends on your market and who you put, how many people you pull in. But you can scale it up a month within 3 months or less. That's the goal of the Beyond the Rat Race program. So who's it for? Well, it's for serious entrepreneurs who want a decent income online. It's for people who have a basic knowledge of the mechanics or who don't mind looking it up. In other words, if you don't know what an autoresponder is, I can show you that, but just go and you could go and Google it. What's an autoresponder? You go to YouTube, but there's that kind of the nuts and bolts of it is fairly easy. Okay, I mean, if you're stuck, of course I'll help you. But most of the material is pitched for people who have at least a very basic understanding. You don't need a lot. And in fact, for a webinar, you don't even need a website. You don't need a website. You just need a webinar platform, which, as I say, can be a free one, and an autoresponder. That's basically all you need. Helps to have a bit more, but it's not essential. It's also for people who are willing to grow personally as well as professionally. And I've put here as brackets, comfort zones get pretty uncomfortable eventually, because what you'll realize is that saying, well, I can't do this, or I don't think I can, or I'm not sure, is actually limiting yourself. You know that other people have achieved way beyond what they were supposed to be able to. Tony Robbins, I've given you as one example. Oprah Winfrey is another amazing example of someone who's achieved incredible things against, the odds of, if you know her life story. I mean, her start in life couldn't have been worse, really. And she's, one of the major forces and good people on the planet. So telling yourself you can't do stuff or you don't understand stuff gets pretty uncomfortable, because you just frustrate yourself and say, well, I really wish I could and I really want to. So, and also, I want people who will dedicate themselves to the coaching and not run after every shiny object they see, because to be honest with you, some of those work, some of them don't work so well, but what's the point? You can bolt things on if you really want to do that afterwards, but let's focus on this. Get yourself established online, pulling in decent income every month, and then you can do what you like, can't you? So, the maximum amount of time this is going to take you is 3 months. So I'm just saying, for a few hours a week, put yourself in this program, and if you're up for that, then that's for you. What you get is video training that's delivered weekly. Now that comes in a membership area. That's just there for you to watch at your leisure. You get a new video each week throughout the course. And we have a live group coaching call every Thursday. Now it's done here obviously I'm in the UK, my time is 5 p.m. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, that's 12 noon. But obviously it depends where you are in the world, but it is recorded. It's audio only, but it's recorded. And that then gets put up in the members area. So you get the benefit of those. There's also an exclusive Facebook group, so that both the live calls and the Facebook group mean that not only you can talk to each other, but you always have access to me. And so if you've got questions, you can either send them in ahead of time, you can post them up in the Facebook group, say, look, I can't be on the call, but I'd really like to know this. So there's ongoing live interaction as well. Who's it not for? Well, it's not for you if you're someone who doesn't see things through to the end. It's probably not for you if you're a complete beginner online, if you've never, if you don't know how to send an email, or, frankly, you wouldn't be here if that was you. You obviously know how to open a webinar and a web page. So you don't need much knowledge of the nuts and bolts to do it. And please, don't join this if you're somebody who just gives up when there's a bump in the road, because sometimes it does get, my hope is and my intention is that it's plain sailing and that we just sail through from beginning to end, but you never know, things come up for people. And so that's part of the joy and the fun of doing a live coaching program. But also I know it can be sticky for people if it gets a bit bumpy, but I'm here. That's why we have the live coaching. That's why we have the Facebook group. Now, I'm going to make you a unique offer about this and I'm sticking my neck out here to do this, but hopefully you'll agree with me that it's the right thing to do and it's worth it. So you see, most marketers will want you to pay for the whole program up front, but I don't think that's fair at this stage, because after all, you don't really know me. Some of you know me better than others, but you don't, I'm not famous. And equally, I don't know you that well either, but I think I've proved in the last hour my ability to teach, even though I came up with the wrong slides. And I've demonstrated that I know how to make a living online. And so I think my skills are worth something. So I don't know you either. So there needs to be trust on both sides. So you commit to the program and I'll deliver the goods. Deal? So give me a yes in the chat box if that sounds like a reasonable deal. Give me a yes if that sounds like a deal. Hey, Daryl. Daryl, it's good to have you here, sir. You've missed some stuff, but that's okay. We can catch up. Okay, give me a yes in the chat box if it sounds like a good deal. You commit to the program and I deliver the goods. Okay, well, let me move on because I have to keep clicking back and forth to see the chat box. Hopefully you do agree. So here is the deal. The full cost of Beyond the Rat Race, which is going to bring you 4, 5, or even 6 or 7 figures a month for as long as you want, because remember, once you've got that one presentation, you can just promote it over and over and over again, and which will teach you skills for life. Now, if you went to college and got a skill for life, it will cost you, I don't know, I'm not in America, but I'm told a college course costs somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 typically, and 3 to 4 years of your life. So of course, I'm not going to charge you that kind of money. The cost of the whole course is $4,997, but you're not paying that today. You only pay the bulk of it once you're making the money. Once you're making the money. So that means I put my head on the chopping block and my family's dinner if you don't make it, right? So I'm saying you only pay me the bulk of that 4,997 when you're pulling in the money that I said you'd pull in, right? But so it's in my interest to ensure your success. So you only pay 997 for the coaching and the rest in 2 installments of $2,000 when you're making the income. But it gets even better because this is still quite new and I want to build it quickly. So for the moment, I'm taking off $500. Now that may not apply if you're watching a replay. Obviously, I don't know when you might watch this. So for those of you who are here live today, and you know who you are, you have the best chance of this offer still standing. If you're watching it tomorrow, it's probably still going to be standing. But if you're watching it, I don't know, a few weeks down the line, you may find that when you hit the button I'm going to show you in a minute, it may, the $500, it may be $997. But right now, your investment today is just $497. $497. That's it. Just to be super clear, that's the deposit for the course, but that's non-refundable. And I will send you an agreement about the commitment on both sides regarding the balance. Right? So if that sounds like a fit, this is the link, and I'm going to post that link hopefully now in the chat box. Well, you should be able to see it. There we go. It says it's published. You should see that come up, I think, in the chat box, and you can hit that link. It's trevoremdon.com/freeme. I thought that was an appropriate name for the link, because it'll free you from the treadmill and the rat race. Now, if that sounds like a fit, just hit that there, and straight away you can register and buy yourself a place. So your choices now: you can do nothing and go back to the frustration. How do I get my business going? How do I make money online? The worry, the overwhelming amount of information there is out there about, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Is this the right way to make a website? Is this the right way to get customers? All that stuff. So you don't even have to worry about sales copy with a webinar. It's just so, it takes all the stress out of it, really. You can go back to worrying about how to pay the bills if that's something that you're stuck with. And you can stay stuck in a job or a lifestyle that feels more like a treadmill than a life. Or you can decide it's time to change and join the program. So just go to trevoremdon.com/freeme and join in. So we now come to the Q&A. So I will check back in the chat box in a minute, but let me just run through a few FAQs, if I may. Well, in fact, let me check the chat box first. Okay. Right, no questions there at the moment anyway. So I'd like to join, but I can't afford it. Now, I've got two things to say to you about this, really, if that's you. First of all, it's $497. So hard line really is, if you don't see the value of investing $497 in yourself and your future, then this may not be for you anyway. However, I do understand that, sometimes that's it, I really want to do it, but the money's tough to come by. So if you could pay around about half now, about $250, and the rest in about a week or so, if you think you can get that together, give or take a day or so, then I'm going to say this only once, so you need to write this down if this is of interest to you. If that's you, then contact me by email. My email address is trev@wizardofwisdom.com. That's Trev, T-R-E-V, at Wizard of Wisdom. It's like Wizard of Oz, but with wisdom on the end, .com. And put in the subject line, rat race payments. Otherwise, I may not see it. So trev@wizardofwisdom.com, put in the subject line, rat race payments, and tell me what your offer is. Tell me what you can do, because I'm willing to, within reason, negotiate that. However, I'm reckoning most people, if you want to join this, it's $497. Just go to trevoremdon.com/freeme and sign up. Next question. What if I do my webinar and nobody buys? Well, that does happen sometimes. There's so many variables, there are, and the number of people you pull in, the quality of your promotion, your advertising. But here's the good news. You have the list. People will have signed up for the webinar, even if they don't attend, and they'll be almost always, you get not 100% attendance, not on the first go, but you have replays as well, of course. So the good news is you have the list of those people, so you can just ask them, what was good, what didn't you like, is there something I could do? You can just ask them. And why is that good news? Because they'll tell you what needed to have been different for them. And then you have the perfect material for modifying that webinar and knocking down all the limiting beliefs. knocking down those objections for the next time. And you can always make little improvements. So you'll always get a good result, because you'll either get sales or you'll get invaluable feedback. Plus, of course, throughout the course, you'll have access to me and my expertise and my input. Now, another question I'm often asked about this is, how much time per week do I need to make this work? Which is a very reasonable question. Well, I would say minimum is probably 5 hours, which is not a lot, to be fair. But obviously it depends how fast you want to go. 10 hours would be better, but 10 hours is more than enough. So I don't think it needs to be more than 10 hours a week. So 5 hours, it's 1 hour an evening for 5 evenings a week, or, just get up an hour earlier. I don't know what your lifestyle is, obviously, but most people can find 5 hours. So 5 to 10 hours. Another question that often comes up is, how do I find out what my market's limiting beliefs are? Well, the easiest way is to ask them. So you can send surveys out and so on, but obviously you have to know where they are before you can do that first. But there are tons of other ways to find out. And I show you all kinds of very fast market research tips and techniques that you can use. You can even use Amazon for market research. Amazon, YouTube, there's all kinds of ways to find out what people are saying is their problem. You might be wondering, yeah, this is all very well, but I don't know what my niche is. I'm British, I say niche. If you're American, you say niche, but it's the same thing. Forgive me. Now, I'll take you through that early in the program. We will dig deep into that, and we will marry your strengths and passions and find a hungry market that wants what you can deliver. So if this feels like a good fit for you, just hit that button, trevoremdon.com/freeme, and get registered now. Let's get started. Another question that comes up quite often is, yeah, but I work in multiple niches, or I want to work in multiple niches. And my answer to that is, look, I wouldn't stop you, but let's get this model rolled out in just one market. Then you're free to scale it as much as you wish. Once you know how to do it, you can do it over and over again in different markets. You might even be able to outsource some of it if you've got multiple webinars running and so on. But one market, let's do it, roll it out. Another thing that people say quite often is, oh, where did that go? Oh, right, okay, I was explaining. I'll find the right, yes, I will help you. Find the right market for you, discover how to generate leads whenever you want in that market, discover precisely what your market wants, and of course, help you design that one outstanding webinar presentation, which once you've done it, you can use it to sign up clients again and again and again. It's unlikely to date, is it? Because people's problems are perennial. You can sell high-ticket coaching programs to them direct from the webinar. I'll obviously give you help with the technology side. I'll show you webinar platforms that you can get, and also you'll get coaching on how to keep the list you grow in your site, so you make ongoing sales to them forever, because you'll have a list, so you can email them, and that means you can obviously help them, but you can sell them stuff as well. They know, like, and trust you. They've been on your webinar, they bought some coaching from you, or even the ones that didn't, they're still on your list. They put their hand up and said, I want something, so let's talk to them. And we'll talk about that. So I'll teach you as well how to write compelling emails that get opened and responded to. So if this feels like it's a good fit for you, just go to trevoremdon.com/freeme, or click the link you can see in the chat box button. There should be an offer button there. So in short, you will get a bunch of skills that will change your life. So just apply now. So here's some more questions. I've tried webinars before and they didn't work. Well, the most common reason that people fail in running webinars is because they show people the wrong content. They spend too much time on building up their own credibility, and they don't remove those limiting beliefs. And sometimes people say to me, well, it's all right for you because you've got a list and you know what you're doing and you've been making money online for a while. Like, you've got an unfair advantage, which is kind of true, I suppose, but I went through a ton of trial and error. And that's why I'm inviting you to join the program, to save you potentially years of trying to figure it out on your own. So this is to accelerate your results, remember? So it's your choice. If you think it's a fit, just hit the link and register. The credibility one. I don't have a backstory. I don't have credibility. Look, they don't care about your credentials. They want to know if you can help them. So help them. That's the best credential there is. When you deliver a webinar that knocks through their limiting beliefs, you instantly become the expert in their eyes. And that's all you have to do. And if you think about it, that's what experts are. That's how we consider experts. They made me see, oh yes, that's brilliant. I'd never thought of that before. Oh, I'll read another book by that person, or I'm going to subscribe to that person's blog. They take the scales from my eyes. That's what an expert is, right? What the internet has opened up is for the possibility for any of us to show our expertise, to showcase it, if you like, in a way that was never possible before. And webinars enable us to have our own miniature TV broadcasting channel. That's effectively what it is. You can reach the world with it. Then people say, what about the technical stuff? Well, there isn't a lot. I've already said you really don't need a website, but what there is, I'll walk you through. And whatever you get stuck on, I'll walk you through it. Most of it's not necessary, and mostly it won't be necessary. But where you do get stuck, if someone is stuck, I will just make a screen capture video training, put it up in the members area, post it up on the Facebook group, and show you. And you can always ask in the Facebook group if you're stuck. So that's that one is easily taken care of. So again, if this feels like a good fit for you, just hit the link trevoremden.com/freeme and apply. Right, Facebook ads didn't work for me. That's another one that comes up quite a lot. Well, there's an art and a science to Facebook ads. Of course, there's a learning curve. You have to know how to do the targeting properly. You have to know the right kind of images to use. It helps if you know how to use the Power Editor. And of course, how to plan and manage your budget. But remember, advertising is not a cost. If you're going to get 20 to 40% return, a conversion in a webinar, the return on your investment will be huge. It's not a cost. It's how you bring business to you. And then people say, well, I don't have a budget for advertising. Well, if you do have your own network, whether that might be ideally a mailing list, obviously that's the best place to start. But you might be in LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups. You can start with your own network, ideally. If you don't have even that, then I can show you how you can build a list quite quickly using lead magnets and a sales funnel and getting JVs, joint venture partners, to help you. It's a bit slower, but it's how I got started, and I got from a standing start pretty much with a product, and you saw the photo of the screenshot of my first $1,000 payday. It took just a few weeks to get from there, so you can still do it inside the 3 months that we've talked about. What else? Oh, do I need to write my coaching program first? That comes up quite a bit. No. Obviously, it helps to have an idea, and I'll coach you through that. But you can have a program that's ready to roll out after a week. That's what most of the big coaching gurus actually do, and I'll show you how that's done as well. It all stems from the market research you'll do in the beginning. You'll know what the coaching program's about, and you do not have to write it all. You don't have to have months and months of coaching prepared in advance, I promise you. And then there's still the screaming abdabs one. I've never run a webinar before, help. And of course, most people haven't run a webinar before. But I'll give you all the tools, all the templates. I'll teach you how to pitch, how to segue into the pitch, how to how to set the timings up and so on. So I'll give you all the nuts and bolts. And Remember, my background is in NLP and psychotherapy, and I'll give you all the mindset tools that you need as well to get you going. So look, if you think this is a good fit, just go to the link trevoremdon.com/freeme and get yourself registered. What else comes up? I don't think I have enough know-how. Well, that's why we have the live Thursday calls, and that's why we have the Facebook group, so that you can, we're there, we can engage with each other. Facebook group is, I'm not 24/7, obviously. I need sleep and food and that kind of thing from time to time, but I'm on the computer most days. So if I see something pop up in the Facebook group, I'll drop in and answer it. And if I've got something to share with you, I'll drop in and tell you. And do I need a website? No, as I've said before, you don't need a website. You only need a webinar platform, which, as I say, can be free. I use one called Webinar Fusion Pro, which I can walk you through. I think that one's still available, certainly still works. But there are loads of them out there now, and they're different costs. Some of them pretty cheap, some of them not so cheap. They all have different whistles and bells, but you can do it for nothing. So, as I say, if you think this is a good fit, sign up, hit the link, trevoremdon.com/freeme. Now, one last question. If all this program does is eliminate your anxiety about how to pay the bills, get leads, and have an ongoing business online, would it be worth joining? If all this program does is get you to prove to yourself that you can confidently sell what you know and help change other people's lives, wouldn't it be worth joining? And if all this program does is help you achieve your first 4 or 5 figure month, wouldn't it be worth joining? And finally, if all this program does is show you how to create one awesome presentation, wouldn't it be worth joining? So, folks, we're going to wrap this up. So let me just check the chat box and see if there are any more questions or comments in there. If not, then, because I've taken up a lot of your time, and I'm very, very grateful for you coming to this presentation. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's certainly opened your mind and your eyes to what's possible with webinars. And I'll just hang on just for a moment or two longer in case anyone's typing in the chat box. But if not, I'm gonna, if I don't see anything pop up in a moment or two, then I'm gonna wrap this up, because I want to be respectful of your time. And as I say, thank you very, very much for your time. I hope it's been useful. Okay, nothing else popping up. So thank you, and I hope to see you inside the members area and the Facebook group in Beyond the Rat Race. Thanks for being there. Bye for now.